Welcome back to The Real Room. I'm your host, LaCretia Mitchell. And on this episode, we're talking about vision, grit, and what it looks like to take an idea and turn it into a movement. I still remember the first time I met DeMarco Robinson at All About Chai. Even then, I could see his drive, his hunger to do more, to be more, and to leave a mark bigger than himself. And he has done just that. DeMarco is a creator, the owner of Trap Spelling Bee, and a cultural experience that started as a simple idea and has grown into a well-known, well-oiled business. What began in Oklahoma has caught the attention of celebrities and communities nationwide, proving that you can turn creativity into impact if you stay the course. But this story isn't just about the wins. DeMarco has had to fight through the sting of the lack of support in his own city before being embraced by the world. His journey reflects the grind, the resilience, and the determination it takes to keep believing even when the applause isn't there. This isn't just the story of a spelling bee. It's the story of a man who turned doubt into drive and an idea into impact. From being overlooked in his own city to being celebrated by the world, DeMarco Robinson is proof that when you refuse to quit, your vision becomes your victory. Let's get into it. Welcome, sir.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm great. I'm
Listen,
doing good.
we got a lot to talk about. I'm not even going to do this or that. I'm not doing none of that because
For
I feel
sure.
like it's a lot that we need to get into. But first, I want to give people context, who you are.
Okay.
I know you as DeMarco. We met up, how many years ago was that?
You know what? I just celebrated 9 years of entrepreneurship, and you was there at the beginning.
Come on.
Yeah.
We met
Them
at
waters
All
run
About
deep.
Chai.
Yeah.
What? Around
2016.
That time?
Yeah.
Come on, you gotta know
It was
dates.
probably like, I'm telling you, you was at the beginning of this entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 2016.
Listen, I've watched you. I've watched how you've evolved as a person, as a business owner. And I just want to say, sir, kudos to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Listen, thank you for being an example of what it can look like. Especially, I think a lot of times, especially in Oklahoma, people don't think that they can, but you've shown them that it's possible.
For
So I
sure.
appreciate that.
And before we dive in, I just want
Yeah.
to thank you, your husband, and your family for y'all unwavering support. Y'all play an instrumental role in my success, so thank you.
Most definitely.
Absolutely.
I'm always support. Listen,
For sure.
we've been rocking. So tell the people who you are, all the things that you want to share right now
Oh, shoot.
about you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I got this saying. I like to tell people who I am before I tell them what I've accomplished. So, you know what I'm saying? DeMarco is a father, a God-fearing man first and foremost, a father, a son, a brother, a friend, and, just a man who's on a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are the things that you are most proud of right now?
My resilience. Like, I've been through a lot, Cree, in the last probably year.
Yeah.
I've been through a lot, and I'm so proud of myself because it was times that I didn't know how I was gonna get through certain circumstances and situations, but God is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is. Let me know what have you been through that you want to share with us?
Well, this is the first time I've said it publicly, but in March of 2024, we found out my mom had lung cancer, and that was hard.
Yeah.
And thank God, her scan's been coming back clear. So, all glory to God, and we go keep in continuous prayer that they stay clear. But that hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And, I had a plan at that time. I was trying to pivot in business, and, I had set out to, I wanted to like tour with my company, game nights and things like that. And in the midst of, I was gonna kick off the tour. April 6th is my birthday. So I had started promoting back-to-back game night, around the time that we found out that my mom had cancer. And I just remember like I was just stripped of what I thought the world was. at that time because you have friends and family members who go through similar situations, and when you're on the outside looking in, you hear somebody has cancer, but you don't really know what that family is really going through.
Yeah.
But when it hit that close to home, I just like, I don't remember what the world was like before we got the news, and yeah, that was tough.
Yeah.
And from that point beyond, I just went through so much last summer. Like 2024 was, I would say, the hardest year of my 38 years of living. And it was all a test though. And I was able to persevere, and like I said, is we've been, kind of there for my mommy and my family, and I had to make some sacrifices. I dealt with some, letdowns and some setbacks. But, just where I'm at now, like I said, Cree, I'm really proud of myself because I had to do a lot of self-assessing.
Yeah.
And when my mother got sick, I was just, I was at a point to where I wasn't where I wanted to be. And, the worst thing that you can feel is when your loved ones need you and you're not in a position to be
Mhm.
there for them the way that you want to be. So I just remember feeling really, really like, just, it was a feeling I can't describe. And then uh I was in a relationship, and it ended kind of bad during that time. So it was like when it was raining, it was pouring on me.
Yeah.
But, as a man, I had to do a lot of self-evaluating, and, I had to look in the mirror before I looked outside of to anybody else, and, what I'm saying, self-assess and check some things that I knew I needed to do, and I did that. And, just to see how God was able to, protect me and bless me and reward me for, making those needed changes. I'm just grateful for the journey now, and everything I went through last year. Now I understand it was purposeful. Like, I
Yeah.
needed to go through it to get to where I'm at now.
Come on. During that self-reflection, what do you think you learned? What is one thing that you feel like you learned about yourself?
Um, I'm not exempt,
Mm.
being able to reach levels of success I never thought I could attain, in a short amount of time,
Yeah.
to grow in a space coming from where I come from to, being in on this island, if you will, like, the things that I've been able to see, the things I've been able to do in business, but being brought back to that reality, like, you're not exempt
Yeah.
from going through, what I'm saying, God is intended for you to go through to make you who he wants you to be and who you're destined to be. So I don't take myself too serious, and that's why I always lead with who I am as a man, opposed to, I can hang my hat on my
Yeah.
accomplishments, but I know when I look in that mirror, I know who I see. And
Yeah.
that's the most important thing to me. Like, I am who I think I am,
Yeah.
you know?
Come on. Looking at just everything in the last year, right? I see this very confident,
Mm-hmm.
man, right, on the outskirts
Mm-hmm.
and on social media
Mm-hmm.
and all of the things, right? I want to make sure that people understand you still there. That person is still somewhat there,
Oh, for
but
sure.
it's just it's just packaged a little bit different now.
Right, absolutely. So, and you know what? I've been telling myself, I kind of miss the old me sometime
Mhm.
because I think I know I have a big personality and
Yeah.
I project very, very, what I'm saying, broad.
Mm.
So some people don't know how to take me.
Right.
And I was confident before success. So
Yeah.
it was like, for me to be confident growing up, in the ghetto, I just knew, like, even before I understood what life was, like when I used to see roaches and rats
Mhm.
and things like that, growing up without, what I'm saying, like, without the things that I felt like I should have, I just knew I deserved better.
Mhm.
And sometimes people, like when I got to high school, people hated me for thinking that I deserved better. And
Yeah.
we was all in that environment to where, it wasn't nobody that dared to say, hey,
Yeah.
we can have more than what, what I'm saying, we see. Like, I had a vision for my life, and I didn't know how I was gonna make it happen, but I just never let my confidence do it. And people used to always try to humble me, if you will. And it
Mhm.
was like they didn't understand that my confidence was like a survival tactic.
Mm.
Like if I didn't carry myself with that confidence, I felt like I would have shrunk,
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, the only way I can make it out of these situations I'm in is to have the confidence to know that things are gonna get better. So I was always optimistic, like, it's gonna get better. And
Yeah.
and then when I developed my work ethic, I felt like I could control, my circumstance. And once I did that, I bet on myself. And I've been betting on myself since I was a kid, and I always went against the grain. I walk in the shadows of giants. My sister is successful, my brother is successful, and being the youngest out of my mother's three children, like I just always had like some big shoes to fill.
Mhm.
But I was kind of like I always went the other way. Like even with that pressure, I still bet on myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just feel like, that confidence always carried me into the point to where I got here and it's like, told y'all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Told you. Listen,
Yeah.
I know one thing about you. Like, since we first talked, I remember I was like, this guy is like very confident in himself. You
Hmm.
believed in yourself. That's
Absolutely.
what it was.
Absolutely.
And I think every person that has sat in that seat that is successful, that is doing big things, that's one thing that y'all all have is that common denominator
Hmm.
of y'all believed in
You
yourself.
got to.
Yeah.
You
Speak
got
on
to.
that.
So, I mean, like I said, growing up in Midwest City, Oklahoma, Rolling Meadows apartments, and just Section 8 living, like low income, food
Yeah.
stamps, just it was like I seen people who was comfortable with like nothing.
Yeah.
And I never settled into the struggle.
Mm.
Like I just never settled in. And thank God I had an older brother and sister. When they got of age and they were grown, they like, they kind of carried me. So I got a lot of blessings that they weren't able to be afforded because, that my sister's 5 years older than me, my brother's 7 years. So by the time I'm in middle school, high school, they're
Yeah.
grown and, mother doing as much as she can, but they stepped up big time
Yeah.
for me. So, whether it was the way I dressed, whether it was the, opportunities that was presented for me, based on, what I'm saying, their dime, like I just always knew like, you know what, I gotta do something with this. And I knew, like I said, I mean, I look up to my brother and sister. So I just knew, if I was gonna bet on myself, I had to be confident.
Yeah.
I had to, what I'm saying, approach life with a tenacity that like just a edge, and I have a aggressive demeanor. I come off aggressive, but it's like it's just that forwardness. Like I gotta
Yeah.
keep pushing forward, whether it's good or bad. And again, some people mistake the confidence for cockiness, and it's like me telling you, what I'm saying, that I believe I can do it, that's not saying that you can't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If I
Yeah.
say I'm the shit, that don't mean that you ain't shit,
Right.
and
Right.
I think just where I come from, people always had it mixed up. But, I just celebrated my 20th year class reunion and I had some ladies now. They're ladies now, but we was teenagers and they couldn't stand my confidence. And one of them came up to me at the picnic. She said, "You know what, DeMarco, I apologize."
Mm.
She said, "Because I didn't understand your confidence back then, but I see why you used to be so confident." And she said, "You
Yeah.
know what? I got two boys, and I tell them, if you want to be like anybody, be like this man, DeMarco."
Mm.
Because he always had that confidence. He carried it all the way to success. So, that's just something that made me feel good because, again, I was very misunderstood. I've always been kind of like a loner, a popular loner, if you will. People always knew me, but at the core of me, I've always felt misunderstood and,
Yeah.
like alone, and
Yeah.
even to this day, like, it's just an isolated feeling that I feel that I can't even explain to people. And
Mhm.
I could have millions of people watching my content and things like that, but I just feel, like people don't understand me. And you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's a very lonely feeling sometimes.
Yeah. Speaking on the lonely feeling, how do you handle the tension of being celebrated by celebrities and outsiders while sometimes being overlooked at home?
That's something I struggle with, Cree. I ain't gonna even lie. Um, and they say comparison is the thief of joy.
Mm.
But I see, people who are far less proven
Hmm.
get celebrated in this city for things that's not even really, a big deal. And I have accomplished some major things.
Yeah.
And it's like I've been in my Bible and I read Matthew 13, chapter 13, verse 57. Jesus just said that, you know what I'm saying, your
Mm.
hometown is the hardest place to, he couldn't even perform miracles in his
Yeah.
hometown. And it was like, when I read that yesterday, it was so piercing, because it's like,
Hmm.
I just opened up a headquarters, and I don't think people understand the magnitude in which, you know what I'm saying, I've created a entertainment piece that's one of one for Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And you know, when you say I'm celebrated by these celebrities, I've uh I've defended this city,
Hmm.
you know, when no one was looking. One time T-Pain, it was an ongoing joke. Chance the Rapper asked who made my Game Trap spelling bee. And he said, man, somebody, a white guy named Mike made this. And it was just a joke, but they ran with the joke the entire season. So anytime a celebrity would be enjoying and ask, man, who made this game? They would say a white guy named Mike. So I reached out to T-Pain's team and I said, hey, I get it's a joke. I said, but I come from an underserved community.
Come on.
And I said, people where I'm from, we don't get these opportunities. So
Yeah.
I would just appreciate when someone asks you who made it, tell them DeMarco Robinson from Midwest City, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And the message got back to T-Pain, and T-Pain, you know, respected it. And, you know, a game came out of that, you know, and it's like, I took a chance there. He could have felt like, well, man, I'm T-Pain. Like,
Yeah.
how dare you tell me it's
Yeah.
just a joke? And, you know, he could have stopped playing my game, but I was willing to sacrifice that for people for my friends who in prison serving life, for, you know, my grandmother and my mother, you know, while they still alive, to see, you know, me represented on a
Yeah.
global platform like that. So it's like, I fight for this city, and it's just like, the city don't show me that love in return, but it doesn't deter me from, you know, steady fighting, because, you know, regardless of what I feel or how people feel about me, you know, I am from here, and my story, you know, starts here. It begins here, and a lot of people in my position would have left the city. You know, I've had plenty of opportunities to, you know, go far beyond the city with what I do, but I decided to open, you know, my headquarters in Oklahoma City. And, you know, it's so much that can come about this, not only for myself, but for the economy. You know, I can create jobs.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm doing multi-million-dollar business. And it's like, you know, for my city not to embrace that in a way I feel like it should be embraced. And, you know, maybe it comes back to that confidence that I shown. And, you know, maybe sometime people look at my success as a reflection of their failure. And I hate that it's that way for people,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you know, I'm gonna still keep pushing the envelope, and, you know, I'm gonna represent Oklahoma in the way I feel like it should be represented, because, you know, we always kind of flock to everybody else. You know,
Yeah.
I've had a similar gaming company come in our city several times and sell out. And you know, you've been to my game nights, you know, and I can't sometimes get people to even show up to my game nights. And, you know, when I made mention of it one time, people thought like, how dare you say something? But
Yeah.
it's like, y'all don't understand. I'm fighting for us. I'm fighting to say, hey, this is ours. You know, the Thunder just won the championship, but those guys go home to their respective cities and celebrate with their hometown. Like, we got somebody from our hometown that we can celebrate a championship, like, you know what I'm saying, ideal that I created that, you know, has went global.
Let me say this. As someone who is doing this, has this
Hmm.
platform, I can't say that I've experienced the success that you have,
Hmm.
right? But what I can say is that I get it.
For sure.
I get not being supported by
Hmm.
your own. And you hit it. I think it's the insecurities.
Hmm.
It's you're showing them what they haven't done
Yeah.
or what they
Uh-huh.
aspired to do. And so it's hard for them to celebrate you because it reminds them of what they haven't accomplished yet.
Absolutely.
Right. And so, what I do my best to do, like I try every day to just say, you know what? I'm not doing it for them.
Absolutely.
I'm doing it hopefully to pave the way
For sure.
for the youth or for whoever
Absolutely.
is looking or for that one, right?
Absolutely.
And I know it's hard cuz I mean you didn't do some major stuff and I see you. You
Hmm.
know I see you. But I know sometimes we can get caught up in that, but I'm
Hmm.
just telling you like there's people that see you
Oh,
and
for sure.
we love you and what you're
Absolutely.
doing. So I want to make sure that and
I
I know you
appreciate
know
that. Yeah,
that.
I
But
know that for
yeah.
sure with you. And like I said, I appreciate it, because, you and your family, even like I said with the game night we had,
Mhm.
you had a birthday party one year. That was
Mhm.
early in the
Oh, man, that was
process.
so much fun.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
probably that I was this is probably 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm new to, doing this, and you could have celebrated your birthday anywhere,
Mhm.
but you chose to say, "Hey, DeMarco, I want to hire you to host my game night," and you allowed me to bring my cameras in and get footage, and I got
Yeah.
millions of views off that content, and I sold thousands of games
Yeah.
off, you and your family's energy. And that's why I invited you guys back to,
Yeah.
my pre-grand opening game night. And I was so happy to see you, your husband, your sister and her husband,
Yeah.
because like I said, you can't fake
Nah.
genuineness, and I think that's another reason why people don't like me, Cree, because when I make them out, if I know you full of shit, I'm not gonna deal with you, and I don't fake kick it with nobody.
Yeah.
And it's cool if you don't support me, but if I know you have an ulterior motive or something, I'm not gonna support it. And
Well,
you
that's
know what I'm saying?
protecting your peace. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Everybody can't have
Yeah.
access to
Yeah,
you. I'm
absolutely.
very clear on
And
that
I
now.
feel like
Yeah.
if I would do a lot of faking with people,
Yeah.
I would
Almost
have a lot
definitely.
more support.
Almost definitely.
But they and then everybody always, you can always tell their agenda, like it's what's in it for them. And then, they'll see I've accomplished something, then they'll call to see if they can kind of rub shoulders with me to
Yeah.
get some of the light that I'm standing in. But I see through all that bullshit, and I don't allow people
Yeah.
to what I'm saying, I don't fake it with people. And I think that's what people don't like, us. They feel like you got to politic sometimes. Fuck that politicking.
Yeah.
I built this from the ground up, and what I'm saying, it's authentic. So I think the only way I can keep it authentic is messing with people who are authentic like
Yeah.
myself.
Let me tell you this, the pre-grand opening, that was the same 2 days prior, my grandfather passed away.
Wow.
But it was important for me to still show up for you. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go because it's gonna take my mind off of it. And I'm glad we did, because I was able
Wow.
to kind of
I would
separate
have
from
never
that.
knew.
Yeah, listen, I was just like, okay, in the moment, we
But see,
just gonna go.
that's why I appreciate you so much, because
Yeah.
in a time like that, for you to show up for me,
Yeah.
you and your family, that meant the world to me to
Yeah.
see y'all. So
Yeah.
thank you, and I'm sorry, for your loss.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Okay, we can stay here all
For
day and
sure.
talking about the folks, but we gonna move on.
Okay, okay.
Listen, and y'all, he said all that. I didn't say
Oh,
that.
for sure. I ain't tripping. I stand on
But he
everything I
stand on
said.
everything he
For
said,
sure.
okay?
You can come smell my cologne if you don't like it.
All right. Trap Spelling Bee is not just an event, it's a brand, and you've done an amazing job. How do you transition from a creative idea to a structured, sustainable business?
I gotta give God all the glory, because I tell people this, and they like, "Are you serious?" I didn't even like games before I started
Mhm.
creating them. So it was like God just gave me a gift, and He's like, "You're gonna carry this gift to where I need you to carry it, so
Yeah.
people can, you can bring light to this world." So what happened was, I had this ideal, I give the story often, but I'm gonna just kind of speed it up. So when I had the ideal, I'm like, I'm a graphic designer by trade.
Mhm.
So conceptually, I knew how to design, but I'm like, where do I begin? Because I never, like, if you would have invited me to a game night before I created this card company, I wouldn't have went.
You wouldn't
Like,
have went.
I don't really, that ain't my style.
Yeah.
And but when God gave me the vision, I said I wanted to, articulate how cool it is to be black.
Mhm.
And I had the ability, and it was like just a vision. It was like an outer body experience. I've created over 24 games, and when I tell you, like, it's literally like an outer body experience,
Mhm.
because I can go somewhere in my mind that, like, I can't understand, like, how do I know what I know? And I'm
Yeah.
self-taught. Everything I do, I'm self-taught. And I design it, create it, conceptualize it, manufacture it, I market it, I do the content, and it's like I've never been taught how to do this. Even dating back to graphic design, I had a
That's
15-minute
crazy.
tutorial from a friend of mine, and I just took that and made it a business. And then, that business put me in a position to make my car company.
Yeah.
So it's like, to when I create these games, one thing I think that stands out to me is that I realized that I have the opportunity to bring my peoples together.
Mhm.
The first game night I ever had, when I created Trap Spelling Bee, I invited 20 people to my house once I got the prototype. and only 6 showed up. But those
Mm,
6 people was all people that didn't know each other.
mhm.
Their common denominator was me. They all
Yeah.
knew me, but they didn't know each other. And they sat in my living room with me and played the game. And I seen a younger woman engaging with an older man, and they was having a good time together, and they were laughing. And,
Yeah.
and I said, you know what? I'm on to something,
Yep.
because I seen how it brought people that didn't know. And it was like God intended for everybody in that room. Like, they literally didn't know each other, and before they left, we all felt like family.
Yeah.
And it's been that way from day one, and that's how it feels. When we was at
Yeah.
the
Man.
game night at the pre-grand opening, like, it just always brings people together, and it just amazes me when I see people playing my games, how much fun they have. And I always think, like, we all grown as hell. We got kids,
Right.
bills due, what I'm saying, going through stuff. Like you said, your
Yeah.
grandpa had passed. My mom, what I'm saying, has cancer.
Yeah.
And it's like, this takes my mind off there for a few hours. And
Yes.
I said, I know it does that for other people too. And I think about, like, I paint this picture, like, it's gonna be people who meet at game nights that's playing my game, and
Mm.
their first interaction they're gonna have is playing my game, and they're gonna go on to be married, have kids. So it's like,
Yeah.
I'm in the root of that. And I
Yeah.
think I keep that in the front of my mind when I'm making my games, and I think that's why they resonate so much with culture,
Yeah.
because it's an experience that I had growing up where I come from, and just being black. You know how cool it's just cool to be
It's
black.
cool to be black.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. What was your biggest learning curve moment as a business owner, and how did you overcome it?
Woo. I have so many of them. Like, I bump my head so much.
Yeah.
Like, I just put on social media the other day, I said, I've took more losses than I have
Mm.
wins, but the losses taught me how to keep winning.
Mm.
And one of the first mistakes I ever made, because again, I'm self-taught, I'm stubborn, I don't like to, like, I don't like to seek out too much information or ask for advice. I get to the core of the meat and potatoes of what I need. So one of the first mistakes I made was when my company went viral during a pandemic. Like, I went from selling no games to hundreds of games a week,
Mm.
and I didn't understand shipping. So
Mm.
I was sending every game priority, which was like 11.99 to ship, right?
Ooh.
And it took me probably about 8 months to catch on, and I had sold over 1,000 units and, like, at 11.99. And when I finally caught the mistake, it only took $4 to ship. So I had missed out on probably about almost $10,000
Oof.
in
Goodness.
shipping, what I'm saying, and shipping profits, just not knowing. But it was like, that was the beginning, but it was so many lessons I had to learn. And I have a friend, one time we was talking, he said, man, I would rather avoid the mistake if I can than make it. And I
Yeah.
said, man, I said, what mistakes have taught me, it has saved me more money than it cost me.
Yeah.
Early on, this industry is so cutthroat. Like, I didn't secure a domain name for the second game I created, and one of the top black card companies in America, like, it was a debate whether I stole her game or not on Twitter, and I was oblivious, so I didn't even know what was going on. People started tagging me in Twitter, so she went and stole the domain name for my second game. And when you go type it in .com, it goes to her website, and that was an aggressive move she made. So by the time I caught it, I finally got her. She thought I was stealing from her. And I said, no, I made this game in the pandemic. I seen some on Twitter that inspired me. And me and her got on the phone, and she said, you know what? I believe you. She said, but I stand by my decision. She said, I'm trying to get in Target. And she said, so I have to, she said, if they ask me, you who's my competitor, I need to have this leverage on you. And you know what? This was 6 months into me being in a business. But my confidence, I said, you know what? I'm not even mad at you. I said, this lesson is gonna save me more money than it cost me. So,
Yeah.
if you will, I made 20 games after that, and I secured a domain name
Right.
of every game that I do. So it was like, those type of lessons have taught me more. So I invite them. And I just had to learn a hard lesson here recently, for my TikTok shop. But it's like, now, being a seasoned entrepreneur and businessman, I just understand that, like, sometimes stuff goes slip through the cracks, but
Yeah.
when it do, don't look at it as a loss, just look at it as a lesson.
Yeah.
And
Come on.
I learn from every loss, so I don't look at it as a loss.
Yeah. I love that. What risks were the most rewarding and what mistakes taught you the most? And I feel like that
Betting on myself.
yeah,
Like I don't have any silent partners. You know, I
yeah,
asked a few people early in the process to, partner with me,
yeah.
and things fell through, and I think the best decision I made was just to say, you know what, instead of looking for an investor, just figure out how to do it yourself.
Mm,
And I pieced together, my first 10,000, and got my first mass production and never looked back. But it was like I almost lost. I did lose friends, and some of the relationships I was able to replenish once I matured in business and realized the position I was putting those friends in, asking them for the type of money I was asking them. But it was like that risk of saying, you know what, I'm gonna just figure out how to do it on my own. And when I did that, it paid off tremendously,
yeah,
and now, I'm in a position where I don't need that help I originally needed.
yeah.
So yeah.
Listen, your journey has inspired me. I know it's inspiring other entrepreneurs and dreamers.
hmm
What's the one truth you want people to take away from your story?
this shit hard.
Mm.
Like I make
Hard,
people
hard.
I make people laugh when I feel like crying.
Yeah.
It's like, wearing this social mask, and it's like being misunderstood in it. So, if you follow the content, I'm doing content and all of that, and people take that as who you are. So it's like, to be taken serious as a businessman, I've made millions of dollars off my company. And it's like I feel like some people still don't take me serious. Like, and it's like, do you know what I've had to do? And it's been intentional. Like
Yeah.
everything I did, it hasn't been luck. I've had to create these ideals and opportunities for myself to put myself on these platforms and on these global scales. And it's like sometimes people take for granted because I work so hard, and I push so much content, and I'm in your face. Like I said, for the last year dealing with my mom having
Yeah.
cancer, but never taking a break from the internet, and just keep on pushing. And sometimes consistency gets boring to people. So when they see you kind of consistently winning or consistently doing
Mhm.
something, they just get bored with it. But I want people to know that, every day is hard as hell.
Yeah.
Like it don't matter how glamorous it may seem, as a real entrepreneur being in them trenches, sacrificing things, bills is past due,
Mm,
what I'm saying, going all in on the business when, family need things, and
baby.
it's real in the field. So it's
Yeah.
like, everybody has, like, I think people like the ideal of success,
Yeah.
but a lot of people ain't willing to really, really go for what they want. And I just that's why I don't really take a lot of people in this city serious, because it's like they love the crowd and the announcements and the
Mhm.
cheers, but it's like you got people who are talking like they proven without proof.
Hmm.
Like, what have you done
Yeah.
to talk down, or to project on people like you're a life coach, or like, you really done some, like you get the photo ops with the celebrities,
Yeah.
and you feel like you've accomplished something, or you got 200 likes on social media, you just passed the threshold of a viral video, so now you
Yeah.
feel like you're the guru of content. It's just like it's comical to me, because it's like I've been around real people who are really successful, and we all just kind of understand it. Like, you doing a lot of talking. That's the first sign that a person ain't really about what they say they
Mhm.
about. Because it's just like, you gotta really apply yourself. And if you try to make everything look like a highlight, if you only sharing your success and not your struggles, like you're not really about what you say you about. Because any successful business or entrepreneur, we all have, like you said, this commonality of confidence, but we all have had to struggle. Like that's the only way. Like I can't trust you if you haven't been tested.
Yeah.
Like
Come on.
I can't trust you if you haven't
Yeah.
been tested. So you could tell me all you've accomplished. And when people find out like some of my accolades, the first thing they lead with is, yeah, I know such and such. I did this with this. But it's
Yeah.
like, what I'm saying, what have you accomplished? You
Right.
know what I'm saying? What have you been through? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Not only accomplished, but what have you been through? Like, what was your struggles? Tell me something that, what I'm saying, happened to you that you had to overcome. And
Hmm.
that's how, what I'm saying, I don't judge somebody by how far they can throw a rock. I judge them by how far they can carry it,
Come on. Listen, because some them rocks is heavy.
for
Okay.
sure.
That's all I'm gonna say. Let's talk about your circle. What does the circle look like? Because let me say this, my circle's small.
Ooh.
Okay. And I've learned along the way some hard lessons, right?
Ooh.
But what does your circle look like? And the people that are in your life right now, how have they helped to hold you up?
I'll be completely transparent
Yeah.
with you. This
Come
is a
on.
question that's funny. Um, I don't have a circle.
Mm.
Everybody's gone. Like
Really? DeMarco?
everybody's gone. Yeah. So it's just me. But one thing I learned about those circles, circles are seasons as well.
Mm.
And I had some great seasons with people, but those seasons are over. And
Yeah.
I think part of my journey this summer of healing was accepting that, as much as I thought those seasons would last forever, they're over. So, I had to go through therapy and just, healing
Mm.
and understanding that, what was won't will never be again. And,
Yeah.
no matter how much fun it felt, how real it seemed, that shit over.
Mm.
And like I had a hard time accepting that because I invested so much in people and the
Yeah.
people around me. And the first thing I did when I found success was try to bring everybody in.
Mhm.
And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes I made.
Mm.
And not to discredit anyone who helped me get to where I'm at, but in hindsight, I wouldn't have invested as much in trying to bring people with me, and I would have put that back into me and my children. And I
Hmm.
feel like,
Hmm.
I could have got a lot more out of, those situations as well as my business if I would have did it that way. So now that it's just me, like I think that was God's plan the whole time because the level of business I'm doing now, I thought it wasn't possible to do alone, but I'm doing more business alone than I was with a team of five.
Mm.
And it's like, when we was laughing and joking about the assistant,
Mm.
I thought it was woe is me when I had got a little money. I need an assistant. I need somebody to go get my lunch. I need somebody to do that.
Yeah.
And God humbled the hell out of me. Boy, you better go get your own lunch. You giving these people, I gave up so much of my profit
Yeah.
early on. Like my first $1 million I made in sales, like I could say after I paid the business expenses, I probably paid 150 to 200,000 in payroll
Mm.
over a course of probably a 2 or 3 year span. And that was just money. And I'm not gonna act like they didn't help.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't wanna downplay nobody's position that helped me get to where I'm at. But a lot of that stuff I could have did on my own and I probably could have put back into the business, but I was just taking myself too serious back
Mm.
then, thinking I needed to be assistant, thinking I needed to do everything a certain way. And like I'm the type of person that I want for my brother what I want for myself, or I want for
Yeah.
my sister what I want for myself. So it was times that, I could have stepped up on that hill by myself. But I chose to stay down with my people, and let's see if we can climb it together. And sometime I didn't make it up to the top of that hill, trying to have everybody come with me. And I knew
Yeah.
that it was times that I could have saved myself, and I stayed back to make sure everybody else was
Else was
okay.
good. Mm.
But when it was time for them to make sure I was okay, people start disappearing. And
Yeah.
I can't blame them because maybe their life took a turn to where,
Mhm.
they had to save themselves. But from relationships to friendships, everybody left. And I had to learn that sometimes people will be with you, but not people won't be for you.
Come on.
So what I'm saying, when I thought those people that was with me was for me, I was all in with them, and I gave people my last sometime. I had to do favors I thought I never would have had to do for people.
Mm.
And those same people, use that against me. And it
Hmm.
was like, wow, do you know what I sacrificed to help you? And then, just to get in return, those people to turn their back on me. But it was the greatest blessing in disguise because again, it made me have to look in that mirror and self-assess. So I can't put
Yeah.
the blame on them. I gotta blame myself for overcommitting. So now that just taught me, with it just being me, I'm gonna eventually need a team. I actually probably need a few pieces right now, but it's hard for me to let people in. This is
Yeah.
my baby, and it's just like I understand it won't nobody never love and value trap spelling be like I do, but at the same time, I can't just exchange money for service because it's more to me than that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a very like I love hard, I work hard, you know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to find that balance sometime like, hey, this person might just be here for 3 months to help
Yeah.
you with this and then they might be gone. But if I brought you in, if I showed you things I don't show the average person, if you seen me make moves behind the scenes with integrity, like I thought that would count for some, but for some people that don't matter. They
Yeah.
just there to, serve themselves.
Listen, let me say this. It's hard for me because I'm the person, oh, we better together, right? So we on
Mm-hmm.
two different spectrums. Two books that I'm reading right now, they talk about the right people in the right places,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think it's important because you have a successful
Mm-hmm.
business. And as you scale and it gets even bigger and bigger, I think you are gonna, this is my opinion, okay? I think you are gonna need some people in the right
Without a
places.
doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's gonna people that come and it's gonna be seasons. And so
Absolutely.
I struggle with them same way with my business. Like, oh, I don't want to give somebody this my baby, right?
Mhm.
But I am learning to do this. I'm learning that when I effectively communicate the vision and the mission and they understand what that is clearly,
Mhm.
then they're even more bought in, right?
Absolutely.
And so I just say this, and I heard you say you switched and said you do need some people.
For
So I
sure.
heard that, right? But I just want to say I know that Trap Spelling Bee is gonna be even more bigger than what it is
It is.
now, right? And I know that you're probably gonna need some people, but don't be afraid to give it to other people in a
Right.
sense of
Absolutely.
like understanding, yeah, that people gonna come and go.
For sure.
Like
And
that's part of
I
it.
just had an experience recently that what I felt good about when it fell through because I had hired an intern cameraman. The
Mm,
thing I need most is someone to hold the camera for me. I'll do all
yeah,
the creating, just
yeah,
hold the camera for me. But I'm big on like again, you gotta prove to me because I
yeah,
don't want you just talking and telling me what you do. Prove to me.
yeah.
So I intern people. I asked someone to intern for me for I believe it was 45 to 90 days
Love it.
before I hire you on full time because I really need a cameraman. So he started out good and then out of nowhere he just stopped responding, stopped answering, like no
Mhm.
call, no show me. And right then I knew because I
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
upset with him. I said, okay, you're growing in business because when some of those past relationships dwindled, it really hurt me because I was emotionally attached.
yeah,
Well, I had him sign a NDA. I had
yeah,
him sign a contract saying, hey, after 90 days, based on your performance is what I'll pay you. And he was probably 45 days in and he quit. And it was like I don't harbor no hate for him
yeah,
because I didn't have no connection to him. It wasn't an emotional attachment, and even
yeah.
the things that he got to see that the average person don't see with my company is like it was business. And I think that was my first taste of like separating the emotions and being emotionally attached to the people I have around me helping me. So that happened a few months ago, and it's like now I got to go back to the drawing board. I ain't quite ready to just reach back out to people and see if I can find somebody
Yeah.
else yet. But I just felt good that even how he did it, I didn't really respect. But it's like I can't be
Can't get
mad.
mad at
Yeah,
that.
I don't
Yeah,
even care why he did it.
yeah,
Like I'm on to the next. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Best of luck to you.
I love how you did that. Listen, internship, NDA, all those
Oh
things
yeah, we don't
important.
play it
Yeah.
at Trap Spelling Bee. Like it's some people who, you know what I'm saying, if they play, they know. They know. I got an
You'll be in
entertainment
that court.
lawyer
Yeah.
and a trademark attorney. So
That part.
yeah, y'all
That
play,
part.
you go find out.
Listen, I understand. Okay, okay. So let's keep going. What role did creativity and faith play in helping you step out when the blueprint didn't exist?
I think, I'm drawing like in this season I told you like I don't have a circle now. It's just me and God. Like every
Mm-hmm.
day I go to my warehouse, I pray. I've been reading my Bible for probably a consistent 3 months now, every day, different stories in the Bible. So it's like drawing closer to God and understanding like God, it's your will because
Yeah.
again, I'm just a vessel of what He want me to do. So it's like when everybody left and I was stripped of all that, it's like, okay, this is your purpose. I need you to create this because I gave you the
Mm-hmm.
ability to create for my people so they can have a something easy to go by when they're having a tough time. They can have something that they can look to that's positive and a light. So it's like if it wasn't for God, I couldn't like he draws, he'll strip you of everything. And like I lost a lot over this last year just to be able to get to the point now to where I give him all the glory. So it's like, again, when I'm creating, I don't my creativity, like my creative process would trip people out. All the content I do and things, I don't think about it, I feel it. I
Yeah.
don't pre-record, I don't pre-rehearse, I don't
Yeah.
I don't write down the ideas that's coming to me. Like I can get an idea for a game right now and I'll go A to Z until I'm ready to send off for the prototype. Like, and it's just like I'm led by God, and like I just trust my instinct. So
Yeah.
I create based off instinct instead of, trying to I don't force any thoughts. Whatever comes to I don't like second guess my initial thought because it's from God.
Yeah.
So I allow my creativity to flow. I've heard, rappers say that before. The rapper Future, I heard him in an interview one time. He said, I don't listen to music. I don't make music. I feel music. Like what
Mm.
I say is what I feel.
Mhm.
And then like it was a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, that's how I create my games,
Yeah.
because like I had a spurt to where I created 15 games in 1 year. And
It's
then I didn't create a
crazy.
game for 3 years.
Yeah.
And then like it was like never in that 3 years did I feel anxious to say, why haven't
Yeah.
I created a game? I just trusted my creativity within that time. And then when I picked back up, it was like it was just there. I felt it like, okay, it's time. So it's like being aligned with God and his purpose. And when you accept that challenge that he gives you, like, I'm gonna test you and see if you can
Yeah.
handle some things. And it's back to like, that adversity. And once you can show God that you can handle the gift, he's gonna keep blessing you. So
Yeah.
I would attest all my creativity to God and his glory.
What is one of your outside of business? What is one of your I would say proudest moments?
My kids love
Yeah.
me. Like the love and respect that my children have for me. A man in my position sometime neglect, home and those things. And some people might have their own opinions on how I parent, but if you took me out of a room and asked my kids how they feel about
Mm.
me, I'm confident that both of them would, really, really sing my praise. And you can't tell my daughter I ain't the biggest hero in the world. And my son has seen me go through so much. He's
Yeah.
he's old enough to see me go through a lot of the adversity I went through the last year. And it was like this time last year, I was in a rough patch in life and I didn't hide it from him. I said, son,
Yeah.
this is where I'm at in life. And I said, we go do X, Y, and Z, and this is the result we gonna get. And
Mm.
everything I told him this time last year has came to pass. And now
Mm.
he's having his own success
Yeah.
based off what I told him. And it's like, so for me, it's like at the end of the day, I don't care what nobody else say. As long as those kids, I can look at those kids and they can be proud of me. And my son he almost made me cry one day. He said, Dad, I remember when we went from this to that to this, and now we here, and it's just amazing, like
Yeah.
how far you came, and I'm proud of you. And I
Yeah.
said, thank you, son. It almost had me in tears, and
Yeah.
what I'm saying, I almost broke down in front of him. And then my daughter, she's just she's just like every morning she calls me on FaceTime and she with her mom, and just, we'd say daily affirmations, and I'm instilling that confidence in her. I'm strong,
Yeah.
beautiful, and intelligent. That's every day I have my daughter say that, and it's just like that's my proudest, that's what I'm most proud of. My mom as well. My mom and my grandmother. My
Yeah.
mom takes care of my grandmother. My grandmother is still alive, and she's has dementia, but she only remembers certain things. But one thing, every time she see me, she say, I got the most handsome grandson. I'm so proud. I tell everybody, and she don't talk to nobody, but I tell everybody, I got the sweetest grandbabies. I got the most handsome grandson. So she got to see me on the news,
Oh.
I think a couple of months ago. And then my mom was just out at that festival they had, and
Oh
she
yeah.
had on a Trap Spelling Bee hat and
Come
shirt.
on.
And she said, "Boy, about 6 people asked me what was." I said, "Mama, you telling I was your son?" She said, "Yeah, I told him just to Google it. I didn't know what to do." So when she can go out and be proud of me like that. So
Yeah.
the things that make me most proud
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. How is your mom doing now?
She's doing good. She's
Good.
stubborn, but God is good. Like I said, she goes every couple of months for her scans, and her scans
Yeah.
has been good all the way up until this point. So we just try to, make sure she's taking care of herself,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying, eating the right things and things. But she's good. She's full of life. And, like we just try to make it as easy as possible for her, thank God for my brother and sister. They the older, so they play a real pivotal role. And I'm the only child that's here because my
Yeah.
sister lives in Dallas, my brother lives in Virginia. But they stay on her, they FaceTime her all day, every day, and just
Yeah.
keep her spirits up. And we just try to do as much as we can to make sure she's just living and enjoying life.
Yeah. Most definitely. Most definitely. Your son now, you were DJing. Are you
Uh-huh.
still DJing?
No, I kind of
Okay.
fake like I do. So
Okay.
sometimes if the 16-year-old is a little overwhelming for people, I act
Yeah.
like I'm a step in. But nah, I don't DJ no more because he
Yeah.
can DJ way better than me. So I don't even want to
Yeah.
get showed up.
Yeah.
But yeah,
How
he's
does that
DJ
feel to
Cole.
have you to passed it down?
Yeah, so some people were like, he a better DJ than you,
Ah,
right? And it's like, duh, that's what we want. We want
that's
our
the
kids to
whole
go first.
point. Yeah.
My ceiling is his floor. So
Yeah.
I had brought him his first DJ equipment when he was 12 years old, I believe, for Christmas. And he didn't really buy into the fact, but he used to go to me when I DJ certain events and things like that. So for 2 or 3 summers, I had him in his room. In the first
Mm.
couple of summers, he would fake like he was DJing and he wouldn't DJ when I leave. But he just, he brought into it. And, I didn't have my son in sports. And, a lot of people gave me flack for that. But I just said, I felt like we lean so heavily on sports as
Yeah,
parents
most definitely.
sometime. And I just didn't feel like, that was his calling. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not going to sit at gyms and on fields if
Yeah.
that's not his call. Let's find something he can do. And, I've always had him around music. And we had a 30-minute ride to school every day for like years. And I intentionally made like a playlist because I wanted it to be nostalgic to him, like that ride
Mhm.
to school. So I named the playlist The Ride to School, and it would be all the music I came up on, or my mama used to
Yeah.
listen to, and I used to listen to when I was younger. And it was just crazy how it translated. So about a year ago, like that light bulb just went off. He finally got it. He finally got it and started taking DJing serious. So, I had him in the lab, and now he's, I turned him loose and he's having a lot of success. But a lot of people don't know that I really intentionally made sure he was prepared
Yeah.
before he got out here. And now, he's having a great amount of success, more success than I could even imagine. And,
Yeah.
he went from being my son to now I'm his
Yeah.
dad, and it's just crazy that he's standing in his own light with, I know it could be hard, having a successful father, and
Mhm.
people you can be in those shadows, but I understand that. So I try to make sure that I support the things that he want to do outside of, because sometimes when I have a suggestion or something, how teenagers
Yeah,
be,
yeah, most
he
definitely.
want to do something different. And he's just polar opposite of how I was when I was growing up. And sometimes I had like frustrations when he wasn't understanding certain things, that he didn't want to like how he dressed or something like that. And I just finally had to say, you know what, I gotta let him be himself.
Yeah.
And when I started kind of giving him that freedom to kind of express himself in the way he wanted to, it just kind of blended with the DJing. And now, he's finding himself, and
Yeah.
it's a joy to watch.
I love it. I love it. This is our last question,
Okay.
but we may have some more that come from this. When people talk about DeMarco Robinson years from now, what do you want them to say you stood for?
I was a man of integrity. Everything I said, I meant and I did. And I didn't take no shortcuts. And
Yeah.
it's only a few of us that has the opportunity to do it the right way
Mhm.
and to be the example for the youth and those coming after us. And I just want people to say that, he carved a lane for himself, and he made it big enough for other people to come behind
Mm.
him. Because when I was growing up, I didn't know nobody who made card games. And I have these conversations with people, either you had to be a drug dealer, a doctor, a NBA player, or something to have success back where I was from. But card game creator wasn't in that, what I'm saying, in that category. So now that I want children to be able to look at me and say, hey, instead of being the next Kevin Durant or, you know what I'm saying, the
Mhm.
next rapper, I can be the next card game creator. So, just giving the youth that hope to, dream big and to dare to dream. And, it was so cliche when they used to tell us you can be anything you put your
Yeah.
mind to.
Yeah.
I just had the audacity to believe that. And,
Come
I
on.
put my mind to it. And, now I'm standing on this platform of, one of the top car companies in America.
And period. And what do
Absolutely.
they say? Clock it.
Absolutely, for sure.
What's next for you?
Right now, I'm in some transitional stages of my life. Like I said, this last year has been rough. So coming out of, what I'm saying, like I said, my last relationship, some business setbacks, things like that, I'm really finding that peace again. And I had made so many sacrifices for not only myself but for others over time. I'm just now getting back to a place to where I say, I can just carry my own problems,
Yeah.
So I have a bad habit of making everybody else problems mine.
Yeah.
And now I'm just in a phase to where I'm trying to get back to the place to where I can just enjoy life the way I want to enjoy it.
Mhm.
I don't like to celebrate until the victory is won. So even though I'm having wins and I'm winning battles, like I'm not going to celebrate until the war is won. It's a never ending war, but I have some things that, I want to accomplish right now, in business and just transitioning. And like I said, being alone, like this is the first time in business, like since I had my company, since I started it, that it's back to me. So just enjoying that now that I have the headquarters opened up, just, bringing more opportunities out of that.
Yeah.
The world is moving to streaming. I'm big on content, and like, everybody kind of pushes, when a new thing comes, they pushes it off on the youth, like, oh, that's for the kids. But everything has to evolve. And now with the internet evolving to streaming,
Mm.
I want to get into streaming and find my own pocket and lane for that, because eventually the whole world is going to have to
Yeah.
get familiar with it, because streamers are more popular than network television now.
Yep.
So I want to be able to stream out of my headquarters and just do more content and just grow my business. And then I have some other opportunities that's about to open up, so I'm excited to see when those things happen, what else I can do.
Come on. Is there anything else you want to share or just leave with the people?
Not really. I mean, you're a great interviewer. You had some great
Oh,
questions. I feel like sitting in this seat was, a bit of therapy. This is how I kind of talk to my therapist.
yeah.
So it's like, I appreciate, what I'm saying, your intention with the
Yeah.
questions, and you just being a professional about what you do. And I just want to tell you, give you some words of motivation. Just keep going. And
Yeah.
I had told you earlier this summer, I want to tell it on camera.
Yeah.
You asked me for an interview, and again, I was going through a healing phase. I was,
Yeah.
I'm in the public eye every day, but
Yeah.
internally I was suffering. I was going through a lot. And when you asked me, I have so much respect and admiration for you. It hurt my heart to tell and I said, I
Mhm.
hope Cree understands. And I couldn't explain at that time
Yeah.
what I was going through, because God had just told me, like, just keep going.
Yeah.
And, I thought about you when I was having my pre-grand opening game night, and I said, I gotta send an invitation. And like when you accepted it and you came, that let me know that you understood. And I
Yeah.
really appreciated that. And by the time you had came and I opened up my headquarters, I was in a better mental space to
Yeah.
where I could come and sit down and have this interview with you. So thank you for, understanding. Thank you for being so professional. This whole experience has been great. Thank you for, taking your craft serious, because a
Yeah.
lot of people, I know where we at, where we sitting, these
Mhm.
cameras, everything you're doing. And I seen when I got in here how you was moving. I haven't seen you on the internet early and everything. So thank you for, still having that fight in you,
Yeah.
because a lot of people our age, Cree,
I know.
they, Tupac said, after you 30, life takes a fight out of you. You don't see a
Mhm.
lot of people after 30 really going for something.
Yeah.
So I salute you having a family at home and you being here, after your probably third interview of the night, what I'm saying, working hard. I don't know if I'm supposed to have spilled those
No, you
beans,
good.
but it's a beauty to watch. And like as a fellow entrepreneur,
Yeah.
just keep going. And I've watched you grow, in front of that camera,
Yeah.
your confidence from your repetition. So I appreciate you. Thank you for giving me this platform just to share the things I shared. And again, I haven't did an interview in 2 years,
Yeah.
so this was the first time I expressed that, and I never publicly, told anyone that my mother had cancer. So I felt like this was, a safe environment to get that off my
Mhm.
chest. But thank you for everything you're doing, and I appreciate the interview.
Listen, you gonna make me cry, but I am honored and
For
I
sure.
thank you for being here. I thank you for
Absolutely.
those words. And I always want to make sure that you know that I support you
Absolutely.
because you have supported me along the way.
Absolutely.
One thing about you, like, we ain't got to talk every day, but I
Oh,
know,
for
like,
sure.
we got each
Yeah,
other
yeah, you call, yeah,
always.
I'm
And
gonna answer the
so,
phone. Like,
yeah,
I judge how I feel about somebody. If you call, I'm gonna answer that phone.
yeah,
If I don't mess with you, I ain't gonna answer that phone. But
yeah.
if I see your number pop up, I'm gonna answer every
I
time.
appreciate it,
For
sir.
sure.
And thank you. You know I'm honored. 2 years you
Absolutely.
ain't did an interview and you
For
here.
sure, for sure.
Listen,
I,
and
I'm really selective on like
yeah,
who I talk to, because I understand once this information go out, I can't
yeah,
never
most
get it back.
definitely.
So I gotta trust the person
Come
and
on.
respect the person. And I know, as I grow, I'm gonna have to kind of get out of this shell, but I still got control of it now. And like I said, I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to do this interview with nobody else
I
but you.
appreciate it, sir. Thank you
Absolutely,
so much.
for sure.
How can people find you? How can people buy the games? Give all the
For sure.
information.
So I make it simple. It's at Trap Spelling Bee on every social media platform. Trapspellingbee.com. We have TikTok shop, Trap Spelling Bee. We're on Amazon. We have a store on Amazon, Trap Spelling Bee. So it's pretty easy to find. You can Google Trap Spelling Bee and you'll find anything you
Yeah.
need when it comes to Trap Spelling Bee. And if you're in the city, you can come to the headquarters. Now, I don't have set store hours, but you can make an appointment, to stop in. I have a custom Trap Spelling Bee vending machine where you can come and buy Trap Spelling Bee games directly, what I'm saying, here in the city. So if you're in the city, you can come to the headquarters, and we rent out the headquarters. So
Hey.
that's one thing that I want, more Oklahomans to get familiar with. I wanted to bring an experience to the city that was different than your average,
Yeah.
like just parties and game nights. So I have like a game show atmosphere. You've been in there,
Yeah.
like it's a
It's
good,
dope,
yeah,
y'all.
it's great energy in there. So, I want more people to get familiar with that. And I just want to bring a different experience to the city.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Well, listen, sir, you're dope.
Thank you.
Trap spelling be
Thank you.
dope.
Thank
Everything you
you.
do is dope. So
Thank you.
I
I appreciate
appreciate you
that.
again for being here.
Absolutely.
Listen, if you like what you hear and or saw, please like, follow, and subscribe, and also leave a review. And it don't cost you nothing to share. So I ask that you do that. And if you would love your brand on The Real Room with LaCretia Mitchell, or to even sponsor, hit me up, DM me, message me, or you can even reach out at threalroom@gmail.com. Listen, he is an example of just believing in yourself, and everybody wears their confidence a little bit different. Don't judge people by that, but support, love. It does not cost you anything to do that. Until the next time, see you in the real room.
Peace.